what do you think about how you first started approaching your music career as to how your mindset is on your music career now?
When I first started doing music, it was a lot of like, I didn't know it at the time, but it was a lot of looking for validation outside of myself, because obviously to have a career in entertainment, like, people need to like you.
Yeah.
So
well said.
And you don't really know how to separate that from having to like yourself first, because you're focusing on accolades and you're focusing on trying to make this thing more tangible, which kind of does come in the framework of accolades. You know, if I sold X amount of records, then I could go home to my family and say, you know, things are working out and here's how it is, you know.
Yeah.
But now I feel really in tune with like my own autonomy of like every aspect of what I'm doing. So it's like, if I'm not comfortable in any situation, or if I don't want to do certain things, like, I'm not doing it, you know. And and I used to be really afraid because I didn't want to fail.
It took a lot of pain to get you there, didn't it?
For
you
sure.
know what I mean? Eckhart Tolle, who you're probably a fan of, right? Is like, you got to have your ego broken down in order to experience freedom.
Ooh.
Which is...
Congrats.
So really, you just care more about feeling good than anything else.
Yeah.
If you felt like shit and you were like down and out for real, like, you on the come back up, like, it's a lot of like, I don't care what's happening, I still want to feel like how I just did.
Thinking back of my younger self when I first started, the differences between then and now, there were no like grounded intentions behind the music versus to what I'm saying and sharing now. I feel like the words and the lyrics and the scriptures I'm writing compared to 10 years ago, there's a complete difference day and night. I'm not just rapping, I'm like saying something now. So there's thoughts, there's pain to everything that I touch, everything I create.
I would segue into that. Like, what I'm grateful for is the ability today to like slow life down.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Proud of you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, proud of you for that.
Like, I started this morning with a coffee by the water in Santa Monica and just sat there for like 50 minutes. Just chilling.
Yeah.
That never used to be me, because I always thought I had to like hustle and
go
get and make shit happen.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that in the pullback, you know, you allow the universe to bring you things in the pullback.
That's right.
Yeah.
And having
like,
trust.
And also just like doing things just because pleasure, you know, like, I feel like we've lost the art of pleasure, you know.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like, that would be something that was like, why am I here? How long am I going to be here for? And
If
like,
you were by the water having coffee,
I'd be
yeah.
like texting, like trying to plan my next meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And it's so crazy because it's like, I think you guys can all connect to this. I think we're kindred spirits in this. But it's like, you know better. Like, I would have preached all day long, like, you got to take a break. You gotta do that. But me? I wasn't doing that shit. Hell no.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I got 50 minutes. I'm going to figure something out I can do to advance myself forward. What water?
What water?
I love not being updated now. I love it.
Wow.
I think there's a beauty in not knowing.
Yeah. I mean, when we were
Like,
kids,
what's the latest yada yada? It's like, I don't know, but man, I went to the beach today, had a coffee, sat by the water.
Yeah.
That to me is swag. That to me is like the new cool. I think you guys can see it probably on your timelines on Instagram. People are a lot more self-aware and just conscious
Yeah.
lately.
Which brings me to a funny point. So Yonas and I had an interview on another podcast that I was doing for a minute.
Yeah.
And I came up with this idea, which you liked, I thought, which is when he was out here first doing his music thing, I said he was like a drunk driver, just smashing into everything. And now his hands are at 10 and 2.
10 and 2, dog.
like the soccer dad.
A soccer dad stop.
Straight soccer dad. I was out here with just one hand on the wheel.
Looking back, talking to somebody.
Phone in the other hand.
Texting in the other hand.
Maybe a blunt in the other in my mouth. Like, yo.
So what made you go 10 and 2?
I hit a wall. I hit numerous walls. I got into an accident. I got a DUI. I spent a month in jail. Having a daughter. There's so many things that, like, it was a big... I used to be very stubborn, and that was like the universe, like, okay, I'm gonna put two hands and smack your ass right now because obviously you are not getting it.
It'll do.
And in order for the seed to sprout something, the seed has to be completely destroyed. Like there's destruction of the seed to sprout.
Oh, wow.
It was like next level. And you don't know if you're gonna make it through that
Getting
destruction,
deep.
bro. Like,
No.
like when my music career was ending, dude, I was like, literally felt like I was being ripped apart, literally through and through.
Yeah.
And I just can't even believe I'm sitting here with y'all today. Seriously.
Like, raise your hand if you really learned something through pleasant experiences.
Yeah,
like
right.
for the most part,
Right.
it's all of us can say our greatest change came from something really tough that happened to us. I believe in the orchestration of this organized chaos here, you know.
I love that. And
Yeah.
that's why it's important to share that with people. I
For
feel
sure.
like so when they're in that space, they just know what's possible.
I never asked you what was your formula to bounce
back?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right. Let me start here. That shit took way longer than what I thought it would take. My process was like 5 years. Okay, I was on the phone with a friend, and this is so sad and kind of maybe beautiful in some sense. Who touched base with me. It was an LA friend. I remember touching base with them before I left LA, totally lost. And then a year and a half later, guys, maybe even 2 years later, I touched base and I was nowhere different than where I was like 2 years prior. You know, I was talking to them from Michigan and I was like, man, I'm on the sidelines. I got no direction. I don't know where my life is going.
Right.
And it's been 2 damn years.
I get it.
Isn't that crazy?
I really appreciate you
Like,
saying that because I feel like that people don't say that.
They don't get that real?
I don't think so, because to say like, you know, that you departed from this essentially your dream, like your identity is so entwined in this.
Yeah, I gave my soul to that shit.
And then you leave LA, which already has its own narrative, I'm sure, going on in your head, like this didn't work out, like tail between your legs going back home. And then for 2 years to pass, and it's like, I'm sure you're hoping in 2 years, like you're going to figure some shit out.
That's 720 days or 730 days. That's a lot of days,
a lot
man.
of days, bro.
Like,
but like,
oh my God.
but that is a lot of our journeys. Like, is sitting there being like, I thought I was going to figure it out by this point. Like, what day is it? What year? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times does that happen? The other day, someone DM'd me. I had like a visual on my stories of like me in the studio, whatever. And this person's like, new music, ? And I wrote back just real quick, like always. And then it didn't sit right with me, but I didn't know why. And so the next day I thought, like, why did I say that? Like, that's such a fucking lie. Like, it's definitely not always. So I like went back.
We love the realness, Law.
So I went back to the DM. I'm like, I know you don't care about this like differentiation, but I just feel like I don't want to perpetuate hyperproductivity because, to be honest, most of this year I've done absolutely nothing. Not music, not a damn thing. And what I meant to say is that if you see me in the studio, always that I'm probably making more music, but not always in the studio. Like that's a blatant lie, bro. Like I just got here like yesterday.
I just got here yesterday.
Like, not what you think it is. And he was very. I'm sure he's probably like, that was nice, but like whatever. Like I don't really care. But in my heart, I was like, it's exactly what you're saying. It's me saying like, I haven't done shit for 2 years. I had no idea where I was going.
This society, in a way, you know, we're acculturated to always be producing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like when you're not producing in a capitalistic environment, even if it's at your own detriment, you know, we've been trained to not feel right about that, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like being a 6'5" person amongst a community of elves or something. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you're the odd man out. And the reality though is, if you look at the statistics, again, I'm getting my master's in clinical psychology, so I like know these statistics. You know, depression, anxiety, all these things are like through the roof. Probably because we're like trained to like not take our foot off the gas and always be. And we don't feel comfortable to say, no, we're not producing right now.
My friends were in so much better moods in during the COVID when they were working from home, opposed to now they're back just like doing the same shit. I'm like, I feel like the world was awake at one point. We still are, but we went back to the norm of like go.
Yeah, I don't know if we're all the way there, but we're headed there, right?
I'm dragging my feet.
Yeah, I'm dragging my feet too. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't want.
Yeah,
keep
like
dragging those feet.
Oh,
yeah, like whatever
jeez,
my
man.
like relation is to the big tapestry of the collective is, like I want to be one of the strings that kind of anchor us back. you know.
Hell yeah.
I believe every single one of us are each other's earth angels. Like, you might be assigned this number of people, you're assigned those people over there, and you have an assignment to somebody else that someone else is helping you through, like their channel as well. So like, that kind of back to that DM thing. Yeah. Like, in my mind, I'm like, I don't know, this person could be on my assignment list of people that I'm supposed to be helping just by existing. But we're all that for each other. So like, I feel like the more of us that kind of dip back in to what the hell we were doing before, which was never working, clearly, the more the rest of us will feel like the pull. It's a hypnosis. It doesn't happen like, it's not like we sit around and talk about it. Yeah. The shit happens. It's like, oh, my friends are back to a 9 to 5. I guess I should, you know, go to the beach and plan my meetings again, you know. Right. We have to be conscious. We have to help each other be conscious of the mental health thing and staying present.
I feel like we got to be tapped in with ourselves before we even like extend our hand.
1,000%.
Because if we're not tapped in and we're dancing on the wrong BPM of somebody, you know what I'm saying? You got for real, you got to have the right like rhythm to do anything.
We're light workers, right? In the spirit of keeping it a buck, I feel like the music industry has some darkness to it, man.
The music game there's some dark corners in that world, but there are some light workers like us and a whole bunch of other artists.
For sure.
That's true.
To be honest, like, when I'm feeling self-destructive, if I'm like getting drunk at a club and some crazy ratchet shit comes on, I'm super happy about it.
Hell yeah.
Right.
That's so funny.
Let's be honest.
Because it's part of the dynamic human experience, right?
Right. And it's tapping into what I'm feeling right now.
Right. Yeah. Your manager needs a manager. Your lawyer, you need a lawyer for your lawyer. Why do we need that?
So crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it.
It's crazy.
Do you know my biggest mistake in the music business? When I was partnering with people, I was like, oh, you got a dope resume. I'm a partner with you. Right. And artists do that all day long, right? Like, this person is signed to Columbia. Right. I don't care maybe how I feel about the A&R person or whatever. No, Columbia has my favorite artists on it. I'm going to sign there.
Yep.
And then so many people end up getting burned, man.
Facts. Yeah. Because it's like, that again, you're looking for the validation outside of yourself.
Master P had this documentary that talked about when he got his first offer. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but like he got offered maybe $1 million or something. And he's like, man, I know if this dude is offering me $1 million, it probably means I'm worth like 15 times that. And it's amazing. Like, and he went with that. He trusted in that.
I love that. I recently had to start asking myself if I'm going to continue to do music, because there was a point where earlier this year I was like, maybe not, you know, like finding my peace again without it, because the way that I was doing it wasn't really working for me, like spiritually. So I started asking, like, you know, praying about it, like, is there a different side of this that I can project? Like, so I've been practicing how I want to feel.
One of the things that I feel like I've shifted just in the last like 6 months is you can have a great heart, but if your wounds are bleeding on me, I can't be around it, man. I just gotta keep it 100. If you know what I mean? I could say my prayers for you and wish you peace.
I know what you're talking about.
Jeez. I can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because am I right? Every time we do go in there, I feel like we get really hurt.
Yes.
And then you're like, you can only learn that lesson so many times before you just start to like get frustrated with yourself.
I was gonna say, the beauty about that though is like whenever something feels right for you, it's ultimately right for the other person. So in this case, you having someone else's wounds like bleed onto you, and you're like, I don't like this. It's actually healthy for that person too, because the way that things are orchestrated, like I keep saying, is like what ends up being right for me, it ends up being right for you too. Maybe you're depriving this person of a lesson by staying and allowing him to bleed onto you.
That's great.
You know?
That's great.
Well said, yeah.
You said Kendrick was opening for you, right? And J. Cole too for some shows, you said, right?
Yeah, we had some shows.
Yeah. Did you see anything in Kendrick in particular where you're like, man, I know this guy's going through, or like, because you've seen lots of artists in all of your years in the music industry, let's say, right? And you've seen a lot of talented artists, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm just curious, from that vantage point, when you saw Kendrick, was he any different than the next talented artist that you were looking at?
Yeah, major. Yeah. I became a fan of Kendrick when he rapped over, I think, I'm So Appalled beat. It was I think I'm So Appalled by Kanye West, and I found it on a blog. I caught the Kendrick, the K Dot was his name.
Yeah.
I caught the K Dot train late, and met his manager Dave Free, and Dave was like, "Man, can we have Kendrick open up for you guys?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And the first time I saw him at the Roxy, he performed. I was just blown away. I was like, "Yo, this dude is legit." So I already saw his trajectory going, that way. Same with J. Cole. Saw him in Atlanta, and that was another one. It's just like when you see somebody and they have it, I admire it and I honor it. So when they became who they were or who they are, it was no big surprise for me. I saw it firsthand. You know what I'm saying?
Even amongst all the talented artists that you knew at the time, you were like, there's something different with these guys, right?
It's like us when we walk in a room. I think for me, like, I know, like, okay, the few parties that are massive in these houses, like, you don't want to go that way. Let's go mingle this way. Let's talk to you know what I'm saying? Like, you can sense these things, just by energy, not by the talent. You could just people wear it. They just have this thing, and they clearly they had it and have it. And I was like, I experienced that shit at first hand, bro. I was blown the fucking way. I think we all possess a gift of like knowing, whether it's music, whether it's like relationship, toxic people. It's like, yo, or
That's perfect. Perfect sound bites there.
That was amazing.
And to kick it to you, because you know another guy, Black, obviously, who got successful. Like, you knew him prior to the success. Like, did you see him as just another talented artist, Black, or did you see something different there as well?
I think, kind of echoing what you said, it's just like there's a knowingness in someone, and when you recognize it, because it's like something that you sense either in yourself or people that are already who they are. You kind of like there's like a flavor, if that makes any sense. Like it's like a, I don't know, it's like a shade of a color or something.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it in certain people, and so like when you see it, you automatically know. And so that's one part of it. But if you see the person actually embarking on it or like embodying that too, because you can see that in people and they don't really like do much with it. It's like,
right
well, damn,
there.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like part one is like, okay, you see it, and part two is like, and they see it
the
too.
The seed is being
and
cultivated.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has like a GPS that's guiding them to where they're going.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of, are you watching somebody take the right turns and like listening to when the Siri lady is saying go left, and like they're actually going left, and you can feel that they're being told to go left and they're going left, and they're following all their instructions, because you can see that.
The first thing that came to mind was Samson, and seeing him embark on his journey. Like,
head first, baby.
Like,
we're here. You know what I mean? Head first.
Absolutely.
And I'm going back in time to when we were like,
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, we were at a point where nothing was yet created in the physical world. We were just here on the phone sharing ideas. And to now, the jump forward, what, a year?
It's about a year.
About a year and a half, maybe? When you were in Arizona.
That's right.
AZ.
I wasn't even going to come back to LA. Like,
I was one of the friends like, nah,
you need
bro,
to be in LA.
You got to come to LA, bro. No.
Seriously, man.
That's crazy, because you really, I mean, talk about how you looked at LA, because I think that's important.
It was, oh yeah, hell yeah. I vilified LA. It was crazy. I vilified LA.
Damn.
You know what? It's like, man, I mean, maybe like, I'm sure we all had like crazy relationships in our 20s, our early 20s.
Yeah.
And like, maybe we were like looking at our partner like, man, you're so fucked up. But like, we had so much to learn still. Am I right? And that's me in LA.
Oh, man. That's great.
You're so fucked up.
That's all the way 100. LA will have us, traveling at 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And when we're traveling 1,000 miles an hour, it's easy to miss the details of what's really going on underneath the surface.
Say it again.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I had to slow shit down. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, there's a splinter there. Let me pull that out.
I'm bleeding.
I'm bleeding over here. Like, let me get some Neosporin over here. Okay. Tend to the wounds, and then and then you could build from like a solid foundation. I didn't have a solid foundation when I was out here because I was just running so hard. I wanted to build my multi-level home before I got my foundation right. Yeah.
Ooh, been there.
Yeah.
There was a time where, I don't know, 2009, 2010, cosigners was a thing. Like,
yes.
It was like your elevator to success,
right,
or
so
whatever. I feel like, oh, Drake.
As someone who was like in that matrix and that was all I knew, I was like, well, fuck, I got to get me a cosigner to get on.
And tell us about that. Did you actually try and chase down cosigners, or like what did you do to make that happen?
But like that was my ammunition.
Or that was your like goal.
Yeah, it was a silly goal. Like, why do I like I stopped looking in the mirror? You know what I'm saying?
But what did you do?
Looking
That's
for
beautiful.
the next person, opposed to like, dude, look at you. You got the juice. You got the talent. Co-sign yourself, dog. But like, you're young. You're looking at what your peers are doing, so you get caught up in that race.
You're from Ohio. Your family doesn't really know anything about music. Like, I want to show them I'm signed to Interscope Records. Or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So we're battling all these forces. We're battling what our family thinks.
Yeah.
We're battling what our peers are doing. Yeah. It's a lot of energy coming at us.
A whole lot, right.
You know? And that's why, like, tapping in, like, conversations like this are valuable.
Yeah.
Hearing somebody else say it, like if you tell me, like, I really want to have so-and-so on my podcast because cosign, right?
I want to get Big Sean on my podcast. Shout out Big Sean.
Hey, like just if I hear you say it and I start to see that you're not looking in the mirror, like you said so beautifully, like it's so clear to me to look at you be like, no, like you have it though. You don't need this person or that person, you know. So you're right, like having these conversations, it's so much easier to see it so clearly on somebody else who's wearing it.
True. Yeah.
Because for yourself, you know your ins and outs. Like you know what you got in your bank account.
Yes.
You know how like you're on on like the last bit of your rope, you know, like you're losing it. So that cosign sounds mighty fine when you're struggling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that sounds like the cheat code on Chutes and Ladders where you just, you know.
Believe me, there was a time
Man.
I hit up Dave Free. I was on my down. I was like, dog, I need a K-Dot verse, bro. I need a Kendrick verse. He was at the height of his career, and he hit me back. He said, you can't have K-Dot, dog. He's just somewhere he can't get. And I was like,
damn.
Fuck. I was so down. But he was like, you can have Schoolboy. I was like, nah, I want K-Dot, bro. But I was on my down. I'm laughing about it now because I did a lot of things being desperate, and that's why it never clicked.
Yes.
Oof.
When you do things from like just a genuine heart, you're Gucci, you're good. Because people are gonna.
Because there's no more scoreboard. I feel like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're naked, man. I love that. Be naked. That sticks. Now that you're naked, I feel like we're all naked now, and people can see you for who you are, and they can digest whatever you're sharing.
Do you know where your desperation was coming from? Was it anchored in fear? Was it anchored in needing validation?
It was. It happened after my group split. I feared not being looked at as the same. I feared like, oh, you're nothing now. You're not going to be seen. Like, you know, I feared I would be forgotten. But I'm YO. I did X, Y, and Z. I got this yada. Let me get this verse or let me get this show. It was never about the art. It was always about me and what I did. So things weren't clicking. And I had to, you know, that's where it came from. When you get caught up in things and pulled away from who you are, you just kind of forget. You forget who the hell you are at one point. I mean, you can relate. You get sucked in into an industry, you kind of forget who you are.
100%. And that's the most painful thing forgetting who you are, man. It's painful when, you know, say you outgrow a friendship or something, you know, they become like, your friend becomes a stranger to you. But what about when that happens to yourself? You're like, I don't even know me anymore.
Wow.
Oh man, I've been there.
Wow.
Heavy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause it sneaks up on you.
Sneaks up on you because you're going 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You know, you can't
Right.
see shit.